I think Susan Wojcicki is literally flexing on us at this point just by saying that I can roll out one of the most hated changes in the history of this platform and you guys still have nowhere else to go. And let's face it, she is unfortunately right about that. I mean, if not YouTube, where exactly are we going to consume our daily content from? It's not like any other platform even comes close to coming close to providing the sheer size of audience for content creators or the sheer amount of variety of content for content consumers that YouTube is able to do on a daily basis. But with that being said, why exactly would they want to move forward with a decision that is so universally hated by the people that support their platform? Well, I just wanted to share my thoughts on what exactly happened here. And obviously, this is just speculation from some random guy on the internet, so take it with the largest grain of salt that you'd like. But I do think at the very least, this is a pretty fair hypothesis just based on everything that we've seen thus far. But what I really think happened here is YouTube had already decided a few months ago, when they were supposedly testing the whole idea of removing dislikes, that it was something they were going to do. And then, when there was an unexpected amount of backlash about the decision, they kind of had to course correct. I think really, when they announced the thing, like kind of as they were toying with the idea, they just wanted to see how well received the idea would be and figure out if they needed to do any convincing on their part in order to make sure the decision went over smoothly. But the backlash was actually so large that the course correcting they did was to kind of shut down the whole project and then conduct this internal research that would find the most extreme example of how the dislike button could actually be negatively used. They would have to make sure to include things as how it harmed people's mental health in order to convince us that this was actually a decision in our best interest. And I know for some people that could certainly be something that would actually hurt them, but I think for those people it would just be smart to either choose not to create content in a toxic environment if that's not something you can handle, because certain communities are certainly more toxic than others, or to just avoid looking at the ratings yourself, disable them on your videos so that people can't even leave them. That would be obviously something that you could do. And I'm speaking from the perspective of a small creator and also someone that makes content in the realm of, I guess, the financial world. I do worry about a lot of scams being able to make it even further. This is something that CoffeeZilla talked about in his news video, and he does a really good job of breaking that down, so I'll certainly link that in the description below. But I just worry that definitely the harm is going to outweigh the good from this, and I will make a follow-up video on specifically what I think is really going to happen to YouTube if this decision actually goes forward. But kind of keeping on track here with my whole theory, I just think that YouTube definitely had it in their mind that they were going to do this decision one way or another, and once the backlash was very strong, they went with the most extreme method of convincing us that this was actually something that needed to be done. But of course, people are not convinced. They're definitely still very upset with the decision, and I think it's going to be interesting to see whether YouTube pulls back or not. But I do think at the very least, it shows just how motivated they are by moving in the direction that they think is going to be most profitable, because ultimately speaking, this all really comes down to the instant gratification of social media. Platforms like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, none of them really let you see negative reaction to the content. I mean, Facebook lets you react with different faces, so I guess you could put like an angry face on there if the content made you angry, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. It could just mean that whatever happened in the video made you angry. And ultimately speaking, right, none of those rating systems really allow users to actually see just how negatively the video was received in relation to the positive reception that they are able to see. And I think YouTube heading in that direction, they're really just kind of trying to fall in line with what other social media outlets do, especially TikTok, because of the growth of that has been so explosive. But ultimately what this really leads to is just no creator ever feeling like that they shouldn't post something, even if maybe it's not necessarily the most informed take on something, the most well-researched video, or if it's just straight up clickbait. It's going to make creators feel more comfortable posting more videos, ensuring that YouTube gets a larger stream of content than they're already getting posted to the platform. And what this really just allows for is them to squeeze out every cent of monetization. That's such a hard word for me to say. I'm not even going to bother retaking that one. But it just really allows them to actually squeeze out every cent, because they monetize every single video regardless of whether or not the channel that in question is actually a YouTube partner. So you might have ads on your videos with without even realizing it, but also with getting 0 cents from that ad revenue yourself. And YouTube then can just keep on making a little bit more money than they already do, and also really just making sure that people are engaging with content longer, seeing more ads on that content, and that their time is being more spent with YouTube than it already is. I think that they really care about audience retention just as much as creators do, so that way that mid-roll ads are getting to people, but also so that way people are just spending more time being engaged with YouTube itself. I just think ultimately this is a decision that will allow them to maximize their own traffic and profits, and they're trying to market it to us in a way where it's supposed to be in our own best interest. It's kind of like a parent trying to convince a child that them going and actually taking out the trash will be a learning experience for them, because they'll get to find out what it's like to be an adult in the real world, right? It's the kind of thing where they're just trying to market it to us that it's in our best interest for them to be able to make a little bit more money than they already do. But obviously, it could very well go a lot deeper than that. I'm sure that there's a lot of intricacies and nuances that I'm not picking up on here. I just think that that's kind of the overall idea. I mean, if you look at like a platform like TikTok, for example, a lot of creators do describe the honeymoon phase, where when you first start posting, views are basically handed to you. And I think that kind of instant gratification really motivates people to keep on feeding the algorithm. And then by the time your views start drying up, TikTok's already done with you. They've already used you for the algorithm, and they're already moving on to the next people. And I think YouTube is starting to move in that direction as well with shorts. You know, posting random shorts has really allowed people to just get insane amounts of views that would normally not be possible. Shorts already kind of fall in line with what TikTok is, and I think YouTube's overall angle, just in general, and I think this decision kind of falls in line with that a little bit, but I just think this is the direction YouTube wants to take in general. Is they realize how large TikTok is, but I think they also realize how much public dissent of it there is. I mean, there's a lot of distrust of it, even more so than other major companies, even more than Google probably, as crazy as that seems to say. But they also realize that Vine, Musical.ly, these other apps that have been similar ended up falling off no matter how big they seem to be in the moment. And I think they also see TikTok as something that eventually will have this same kind of decline, and they want to be there as the next platform that people move on to when TikTok is no longer the thing that they consume their content on. I think that's the whole kind of point of YouTube Shorts, is not to necessarily just compete with TikTok, but to take their customer base when they believe TikTok is actually going to basically fall apart. But with that all being said, this has obviously just been my speculation, as I did signify earlier on. So again, feel free to leave any of your own comments, whether you agree or disagree, in the, well, comment section below, because you're actually still allowed to do that on YouTube, and hopefully that doesn't get taken from us as well. But that is it for this video. If you did find yourself enjoying it, please consider sharing with a friend who might also want to hear this opinion. Even if you think they'll disagree, just start up a kind of a conversation with them about it. Dropping a like on the video and subscribing to the channel, definitely things that can really help to let me know that I should continue making content for you guys like this. But that is now truly it for this one. Sorry to ramble on here. Peace.